Hello and welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake,
And I'm Russ.
and today we are doing Matt Kenney's splay-leg console table.
Yeah, this is a really fun one. Matt put this project together for us for Shaper Hub. It's our latest featured project by him. And it's got two really interesting features. It's got splayed legs, which means that every mortise and tenon on this table is angled, and it has a taper to each leg. So we've got compound angles going on here.
The kind of thing that really makes you look at a piece and go, dang, that was well crafted. A nice taper.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we're going to cut all of this mortise and tenon joinery with Workstation. This is probably more advanced than any other mortise and tenon show that we've done to date.
Yeah, because we're going to do a couple of weird things that we're excited to show you.
Yeah, let's take a look at this table. I've got this pulled up on Shaper Hub here so that you guys can get an idea of what we're working with. Here we are, Shaper Hub. This is going to be right at the top under Featured Projects, Matt Kenney's splay-leg console table. Let's look at this. And you can see not only are these legs tapered from top to bottom, but they're canted out both in the width and front to back, which is really interesting. So these aprons have a small angle on each edge. And then these two horizontal pieces at the top and bottom of the drawer front, we're calling these the drawer blades. These have an angle in the opposite direction, so along the short direction of the board, not along the wide direction of the board. So we're going to set those up in Workstation a little bit differently than you're used to. That's going to be really fun. And then we'll cut mortises in these tapered legs using the adjustability of Workstation's shelf to put the top plane of those mortises nice and flush with Workstation's top.
Awesome.
We do have Matt in the chat today, I believe, so thank you, Matt, for jumping in. You'll see we've got his shop tour that we're going to play about halfway through the show. He's got a huge project going on right now, two huge projects going on right now. So thank you for taking the time to jump out of that and answer some questions here. If y'all have questions for Matt, definitely ask them. And we also are doing Q&A at the end of the show because this is a live show. So Ted's in the chat taking questions. He's going to write all those down, send them to us at the end of the show. We're going to answer them.
That's why we're here. All right. A couple more things you need to do. In order to get into the Q&As or into the giveaway section at the end of the show, you're going to answer that poll question. It's going to pop up about halfway through the show during our break. And so you can ruminate on it. The question
is heavy, Jake.
Is what's your favorite woodworking store? And one of the giveaways today.
This is cool. This is an insulated sustainer from Sustainer USA. Beverages not included. I don't know if you can see that. Oh yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
So this is a lot of fun. We're going to be giving this away today. They just launched their customization program. So this is custom for us with the Shaper Blue on there. We're giving this away along with a 6mm router bit that we're going to be using in this project. So stay tuned for that. All right, now I think we can cut some stuff.
All right. We always like to make some sawdust right at the top of the show. So I'm going to cut one of the apron tenons. Right
Yeah, let's look at this setup.
So we're looking at a top left grid. I have my material set up in here, but if we go to that side cam real quick.
Yeah, we should be able to see the angle that's going on there, although it's a modest angle.
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay, we can look at it. Let's look at it on this one.
Yeah. So it is a very subtle angle. Go side cam.
Yeah, there you go. Very subtle trapezoid. It's like something like 2.5 or 3 degrees. But as Matt walks through in the instructions for this project, it doesn't even really matter what the angle for this is, as long as you cut all the parts at the same time on your table saw.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you wouldn't go too extreme because then you'd have a pretty wild looking table. But hey,
go for it.
Then it's art. So we're going to cut a 5/8 deep tenon. I'm rocking the 8mm roughing bit today because we don't use it too often in the show. We decided we wanted to.
Cool. So let's take a look at that on Origin's screen again. Let's run through the cut settings for this quickly. We've got the depth, so you're going down to that 5/8 inch depth with auto pass.
Yeah.
Nice, love that. Outside cut, obviously, for a tenon, and we cut tenons first, then mortises second with Origin. using a 0.3 inch offset to go all the way out to the edge of this board, and then we'll do another cut with no offset to bring that path right up to the line of our template. Obviously, we have the 8mm router bit set up in there, already Z-touched that. And speeds, default speeds, Jake?
Default speeds, 5 on the spindle. All looks good. Well, I think I bumped the auto speed up to 15, but that's just because I like it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Hope you can keep up. Nice. So, as we said, welcome everybody to this week's Shaper session. This week we're cutting Matt Kenney's splay-leg console table, at least some joinery from it, to get you guys started on how to go through this project. The most complex part of this, I think, is these angled mortise and tenons. So we're going to be doing 2 angled tenons in 2 different directions, one widthways like this, and then the next one chucked up 90 degrees to this orientation, which I don't think we've done on this show before. So that'll be fun. And then we're going to do some mortises on the tapered legs of this table. So that's going to involve some angle action using Workstation's shelf, which is nice and adjustable for this kind of thing. Jake's using AutoPass just to zip out this tenon. And after this is cut, we'll go ahead and show you how to set this up on the other side of Workstation, because you're going to want to cut half of these tenons on the left-hand side and the other half on the right-hand side.
Beautiful.
Looks good. 0 offset on the tenons, as always.
Yes. What I like about that roughing cutter,
Mm-hmm.
it actually gives you a kind of a grooved
A little bit
surface,
of texture there.
a little bit of texture, which
Glue texture.
for a glue joint is perfect. Okay.
So if we were doing this whole table, we would go ahead and cut all of this side before we go and move on to the next side.
So that's our 2 aprons all the way through.
But we only have an hour.
Exactly.
So we're going to go ahead and swap over to the right-hand side of Workstation and show you guys how to set up the grid for this, which you can use both for these apron tenons, side and rear apron, and also for the drawer blades, top and bottom. So what are you doing right now, Jake?
Right, I'm just extending the right side alignment pins. Since we so rarely work on the right side, I find I usually leave them flush. Popping on the angle fence.
Little tension screw right there.
And putting the support bar into its zeroing position.
Now, a lot of times when we do these angled projects, we have custom fixtures for the front face of Workstation. But since this project uses kind of, what are we going to call it? An analog method of setting up these angles.
Yeah.
You know, you just kind of choose an angle on the table saw. There is a gauge that Matt includes with the project. That's this guy right here, that allows you to set up these angles to the one that Matt uses. But again, it's just lining this up to the table saw so that you get your miter gauge set to the angle that he uses. We're going to use that angle that's built in from the table saw to actually line up the angle fence on Workstation, and then we're going to tighten it in place just for support. It's not defining the angle, it's just supporting the angle.
Quick thing I want to mention before I move over to the right side, I just cut, go to overhead for me. I just cut this part on this side with this face against the clamping face. So I'm going to flip, keeping that reference face against the clamping face for the right hand side. Just wanted to highlight that. So I
now,
feel
going
that
up
nice
from
big
underneath,
flat.
Yeah, there you go. We can see that now. Feel that flat, setting up flush, and then we can bring the angle fence up to it and snug that up.
Cool.
And for this one, because it's so wide, we're using the clamps that are included with Workstation, which are good, very flexible. They reach pretty far in there. For the other one, I think we're going to use our new Shaper reversible clamps.
We are.
Those clamp a little more vertically, which I think is useful. You'll see in the next setup.
Beautiful. I'm going to swap over to my engraving bit just so we have a nice solid probe. Especially important on this because we're touching off on an angled part, right? Our inside part is an angle, so it's not a flat face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got a sharp edge on the outside there, and yeah, let's look at that. That's our engraving bit.
Just using that solid shank part as my probe. All right, started off with a new scan. Now we're making a back right or top right grid.
Nice, and always check your settings for this. So we've got the depth first. You do want to make sure that you have the right bit diameter that you're using there. We're using a 1/4 inch engraving bit for our probe, but if you were using any other diameter, you would want to make sure that you type that in there. And we're going to want to make sure that we get the correct edge so you can see that dotted line move as Jake presses that button. We want that dotted line lining up with the edge that we're probing. Press firmly, but not too hard. Just make sure that you've got nice solid contact.
Especially on this edge. This is what I was talking about, where it is an angle, so it's a sharp piece of wood that if you push too hard, you're going
to deform that.
Yeah.
Great. That's it. And now here's the cool thing about this. Because we're aligning everything the same exact way, we're using that workstation clamping face as a reference, and we're using that angle fence as a reference. We can use this grid both for our apron tenon and for the drawer blade tenons.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and drop in that apron tenon file and see how that lines up. The difference here is that we're going to want to use the right side apron tenon instead of the left side apron tenon, and that already has a custom anchor point built in. Looks like you got the drawer blade tenon there.
Apron tenon. There we go.
Left side apron tenon. And you can see how this lines right up with our part when you place that custom anchor point at 0, 0 on the grid.
Nice. Well, we've done all this work. Instead of cutting it, I am going to name this workspace apron right.
Nice.
And since we've already made the grid that we're going to reuse, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this.
Yeah, limited time on this show. So we already cut one side of this. We showed you the settings for that. We're going to go ahead and skip cutting this tenon and skip over to the drawer blade tenon because I think that's a really interesting setup.
All right.
Dropping that out, and then we've got a drawer blade right here. And if you show this off on the camera, folks can see that really subtle angle there.
Yeah.
Maybe on the Origin cam. That's pretty far away.
Really almost imperceptible.
Mm-hmm. But it is the same angle as those aprons. So once we use the apron to set up this angle guide, we can go ahead and use the same angle to cut the tenons on the drawer blades.
Yes, we can.
We're dropping in the Shaper reversible clamps now because these clamp really vertically, which is nice. They don't move the part so much, and what we're going to do with this is we're going to set up this drawer blade tenon on its skinny edge, which we don't do often for tenons. You're going to want to be extra careful when you do this that you don't knock your stock off center because you have much less support doing this, but it does let you get that matching angle pretty easily.
There we go. Always keep an eye on things as you tighten. Make sure nothing moves. That's great, though.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Looks good to me.
Now,
okay, so we made this workspace for our tenon. What we're going to do now is duplicate this and reuse the same grid, but drop our apron tenon design and replace it with our drawer blade tenon design from Matt's project.
There we go. And I like to, just to refresh the image of this duplicate scan, I'm going to add to scan instead of doing a new one. And that's just going to freshen up what we're actually looking at.
While keeping the grid.
While keeping that grid, exactly. There's our drawer blade. Get rid of that file. And bring in drawer blade right. Bingo.
Nice. Just to drive this home, let's switch back to our other workspace again. So now if you want to make a couple of these tables, if you want to take a break for lunch, you can always go and come back. We have the workspace that we're working in now. If we switch to our other workspace, which we named there, we've got that apron tenon set up just on the right-hand side again.
Sweet. All right, looks like I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to give it something like a 0.3 offset, which will bump me way out here, and I can get this extra material.
Nice. So 2 auto passes, then 2 macro passes. We're doing one with that big offset, and then we'll come back again with that 0 offset.
Yeah. And as always, I like to Z-touch whenever I swap parts in Workstation. Just good practice. There we go. Ready,
Cool.
set.
Pretty fast tenons today. These are small, but if you do this project, there's a good number of them. 2 of these drawer blades, top and bottom, and then 3 aprons, each with a big tenon on it. There's some other cool construction in this table. There's a nice box jointed or dovetailed drawer box. Some really good tips on how to attach a drawer front. And then also a really nice 3-part drawer pull that's made entirely on Workstation and also is made in kind of an angled way to match the shape of the table. So I really highly recommend you all check this out. We also are going to show you about halfway through the show, we've got a break coming up, Matt Kenney's masterclass. In case anybody missed that, we've got a masterclass online at shapertools.com/masterclass that's got all kinds of information on box making, design, construction, box joints, etc. And you could use a lot of that info for the drawer box that you're going to be making for this.
Nice. Now for this cut, I was going a little slower because we're up on that that tiny edge. I want to be really conscious of basically the force I'm putting into that wood, especially when I enter and exit my cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Just word of caution.
How's it look? Look pretty square there?
Looks great.
Great. So if we had more of these, again, you would go ahead and cycle through all of that. Just got the 2 tenons that we're going to cut today. Let's talk about some announcements, and then, yeah, it's fun, right?
It's cool.
It is cool. It's at a little angle. The angle's a little more obvious now that it's kind of kicked up here compared to the rest of the part. Oh, I'm getting distracted. It's nice. We've got a couple of announcements. We've got a shop tour coming up from Matt. But first, let's pop that poll question up. Reminder, this is how you enter the giveaway that we'll be doing at the end of the show. And today we're giving away, I want to give away a 6mm router bit because that's what we're going to be using for the mortises for this. And then, reminder, I shouldn't have filled this with so much soda. My shoulders are going to be tired. We've got this awesome custom Sustainer 3. This is the latest model, insulated cooler sustainer. Beverages not included. Check this out. So you go on a picnic with all your woodworker friends.
They'll get a real kick out of that.
Dressed to impress with your insulated sustainer cooler. All right. So that poll question is up. And again, that is, what is your favorite woodworking store? We would love to know. Announcements. What do we have going on?
Oh, man. Well, we have a call to action.
Call call to action.
Yeah. We're looking for projects for our December show, our holiday show.
Yeah, these are projects that you've done. So this is in a similar vein to shop tours. We've been doing shop tours for a year or two now. It's been a lot of fun seeing everybody shop. This December, around holiday time, we're going to be doing a couple of shows where we feature some projects from the community. And we would love for you to send us some photos, maybe even a short video. I would say way shorter than the shop tour videos, 30 seconds or so, just like a little snippet.
Yeah.
Or just photos with a written description is totally okay, of the projects that you are most proud of making with Origin. And they don't have to be Origin projects. They don't have to be things that you've done entirely with Origin. It could be a chest of drawers where you did all the drawer boxes with Origin. Or it could be like a little family heirloom box where you made a nice little drawer pull that you couldn't have made any other way. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Something that you're proud of, something that you'd like to share with the community.
Yeah.
We'd love to see it.
We'd love to see it, and we'll be playing that on our December show. So we'll give you a little shout out. That's one thing. Next thing
is accessory sale. If you haven't seen it, it's happening right now, this week.
Yeah, let's check this out. I've got this pulled up on the computer here. You can find this at shapertools.com. It should pop up for you. Save 15% on accessories this week only. Really cool things that includes, we didn't used to do this, but now it includes the spare Origin spindles, which is really great for fast bit swaps. It includes our new reversible clamps. It includes woven dust hose if you're using like non-sheathed dust hose and those ridges are catching on your workbench. Now's a great time to upgrade to a woven anti-static dust hose. Collet kit, all our bits, etc. Accessory sale, 15% off this week only. So check that out. What else do we want to talk about?
We got... Do we touch on Sustainer USA?
No, we should show that off.
I want to... Yeah. They have a very cool website now where you can create your own custom color sustainer.
Sustainer USA, this is tricky. It's sustainerus.com, not USA. Sustainerus.com. But if you go here, of the Sustainer 3s, the M, the medium size, is what we think of as a classic Sustainer size. So we can click on that. We've got all different heights here. I think the cooler is a 337. So let's look at this and customize it. Loading. Here we go. Sustainer 3, M337, and on all of these products now, you can pick whatever colors you want. So what do we want to do? Let's do a red box body.
That'd be cool. That's your med kit.
That's my med kit. Maybe an orange handle. I'm going wild here. I'm going to go with sky blue.
Crazy.
So you can pick all that stuff. We got to pick colors for this insulated sustainer, so we got some kind of shapery colors going on there. We got the shaper blue and like a dark body. Fun.
Nice. Now, does that come empty or does it come with a foam insert?
They've got all different kinds of stuff. You can look at organizers, first aid, sets. I don't know even what all these are. These are for sorting, etc. Browse. Check it out.
That's cool.
Wait till after the show, but browse because you're going to want to see this mortise. So that's fun. This just launched. This is why we're showing this off.
Yes.
It just launched and we think it's cool. Reminder, Origin comes in a sustainer. So if you want to take your Origin to the job site with lunch, get an insulated sustainer cooler, stack them up and snap them together. All right. Nice. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about is just bubbling up this masterclass with Matt Kenney again. I want to show this on the computer because I think there was some confusion last week as to what a masterclass is. We've got two masterclass things happening now. We have Masterclass Live, which is next weekend at Shaper HQ. We're going to be having 3 woodworking instructors from the Center for Furniture Craftsmanship in Maine here at Shaper HQ to teach 60 people in person some crazy woodworking skills. But also, we have this free online masterclass series, and each of these is about an hour's worth of instructional video. This is Matt Kenney's. This is on box making, start to finish. Reminder, Matt is the author of 52 Boxes in 52 Weeks, which is an incredible book if you haven't checked it out. He's also a master kumiko craftsperson. Pretty sweet. And we've got lessons on box making design, stock preparation, cutting box joints, finishing tips and techniques. And then this is also linked to another of Matt's Shaper Hub projects, this box with finger joints and a flip top lid.
Nice.
Which is all really cool. You don't have to come to San Francisco to watch this stuff. You don't have to pay any money to watch this stuff. I watched this before bed on Saturday just because it's well shot and I learned a lot and it's a lot of fun.
I love his design talks too. They're great perspective.
A woodworking philosopher in a lot of ways. It was fun. He did teach a masterclass live class here in San Francisco last year around this time when we were doing this, and it was really cool to see his class on box making and design and all of his philosophical angles on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Matt Kenney, everybody, check him out.
Before we show off his shop, which is very cool, I just want to shout out to anyone in the Bay Area. This weekend, we will be at Maker Faire on Mare Island, Saturday and Sunday. And we got a cool little setup. We're doing trace, all about trace. We got a cart. We'll be all over the place. So if you can't find, you'll see us.
You'll see us. We're going to be all over the place. Jake has been building this cart all week. Crazy vinyl job. It's going to look awesome. Not a super woodworky show, but if you've been curious about trace, we're going to be doing trace demos all weekend, and we got a big Shaper crew going out to support that. So come say hey if you're in the area.
Cool.
Okay. That was a lot of announcements. I feel like more than usual. They just ramp up before the end of the year.
Yeah, it's true.
Matt was kind enough to send us a shop tour. If you would like to send us your shop tour, we are going to keep playing these even though we just asked for projects. We want shop tours. Also, if you send us a shop tour, we're going to send you something nice in return. Matt's got a great one. It's about 3 minutes. Landscape orientation, narrated. It's all it needs to be. You're going to see your shop doesn't need to be clean. You're also going to see your shop doesn't need to be clean for you to be a professional. I think that was cool. People have this image of, professionals have the clean, tidy shops.
I feel like I have the opposite image.
Okay, well, this is going to reinforce that.
Yeah.
Matt's got a lot going on, and it's really cool to see. So let's roll that tour.
Cool.
Hello, everyone. This is Matt Kenney. I'm a furniture maker in Connecticut, and you're looking at my shop. It's probably nowhere near as impressive as many of the ones you've seen. We're going to go in the little door here. It's a converted 2-car garage. And right now, the lights are off. A little less than 400 square feet. Right now, I am trying to finish up a big Kumiko panel that I need to ship to my client in California tomorrow. So things are a bit messy. Anyways, let's get started. Right inside the door, I have this old lathe, which I do use. I do some turning. Then I have my dust collector, which is always in the way, but that's the nature of a small shop. I got my bandsaw, which right now is just holding scrap from the Kumiko project. It's usually cleaned off. I have my corner of shame over there, which is usually pretty dirty. Somewhere underneath there, well, you can see it a little bit poking out, is my Oliver 166 12-inch jointer. It's about, I don't know, like 120 years old. No, just about 110 years old now. It's another Kumiko panel that I'm working on. That one's actually for my house. Over there's a table that needs to get done. My drill press. And then probably, my favorite part of the shop, which is my bench. I've got all my hammers and marking gauges and hand saws. There's a wall cabinet that I need to finish up. And there's my workbench. I've had that workbench since 2008. I actually made it as part of a video series when I was at Fine Woodworking. It's still doing well, mostly, although part of the bench top is cracked. And here are more hand tools. My router table is over there. It gets used a lot, but it also gets used a lot as a place to put stuff, which is always tough in a small shop. All those walnut logs, those are going to become ramen bowls for the house. You can see my workstation there. There's my Origin. And there is my planer, which I've also had since 2008, and it's doing pretty well still. And right down there on the floor, there you have it in Connecticut. That's my heater. My shop stays pretty well warm during the winter months because I did a insane job when I insulated everything. When I bought the place, this garage was just nothing but studs and clapboards. So I insulated everything, took out the garage door, built in this wall with the 2 windows. I had to put in a ceiling, and everything's insulated. Even this back wall was not there. The little hatch that you see goes through into my lumber shed, and that was just all wide open. Anyways, small shop, messy shop, at least this week. I hope you enjoyed it.
I love it.
I love that. 120-year-old joiner? No, only 110.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Matt. It's always great to see into the world of a fine craftsman.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we jump back into the project, let's look one more time at what we're working on. This is Matt Kenney's splay-leg console table, and we'll show you here in a second, but we just cut a tenon for this side apron, and we also cut a tenon for this drawer blade here. This supports the drawer top and bottom. Now, the tricky thing about this is because the legs are splayed both side to side and front to back, and they're tapered, all of these tenons are at a different angle, and we're going to be cutting the mortises in this leg that has a taper in it. We're going to need to figure out how to support that. So we're going to work on that with a workstation shelf in the second half of the show. I can see you thinking about it right now.
I am. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Should we walk through the construction of this leg a little bit before we show people how to fixture it? Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so this is a 4-sided leg here. 2 sides of this are completely square. It started out as a long, about 30-inch long, completely square piece of stock. I tapered 2 sides, 1/2 inch, one side to the other, 1/2 inch taper along the length, just on the router table, straight edge, clamp it up, follow bearing. Now, here's the important thing. Based on the way that this table is constructed, we want the 90-degree surfaces, that's this one and this one, to be the surfaces that we cut our joinery into. And we want the tapered sides of this leg to be on the outside of that joinery. So, very important, as I cut this, as I tapered it, I marked where my joinery is going to be. Let's show this off on the side cam. We've got where I've got that apron mortise in right there. We can see that. And then on the other 90-degree face, we've got the 2 mortises for that top and bottom drawer blade. And then, to make triple sure, on the tapered sides, I marked a little T. So you're going to be able to see that one, and then the other one's covered with tape. But we want those tapered sides to be down on workstation shelf, taped down, and then we want those 90-degree surfaces to be up against that clamping face that we're not clamping to necessarily, but we do want it up against it for reference.
Nice.
The other thing that we want for this setup is we're going to want to move this a little bit over to the left because we'll show you, we're not going to recut a bunch of these parts today, but we are going to show you how you're going to have 4 table legs to cut. You can add a stop to this and make that repeatable, easily repeatable. But we're going to grid it first.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get that set up.
Cool. Just using some double-sided tape. Making sure that I'm pressed firmly up against the clamping face. And now question, we have this taper. Do we want to bring the shelf up at an angle?
Exactly.
Nice.
That's the whole point. That's why we're showing you guys this. So what Jake's going to do is he's going to put that support bar up One note about the support bar is on that left-hand side. You're going to want to drop that tab down just enough so that it clamps, but not all the way down so that it interferes with your stock. Bring workstation shelf up so that everything's nice and level at the top. You'll notice that workstation shelf is now at the angle of that taper. That's by design. We give you a little bit of flex in there so that you can work with tapered stock, just like this. And that's really all there is to it. We kind of made this sound like it was going to be a big deal.
But when we're used to working in a world where everything's the same thickness, we're nice and flat, this is cool. This is cool to say it's okay to do this.
Yeah. Great. I mean, that's it for clamping the part up. Yeah, watch your hose on this one. And now we're going to show you guys how to grid this and set it up to cut the mortise.
Yeah. So same thing as the tenons. We're doing a top right and top left grid.
Yeah, do we want to show that on the side camera? Point to where we're going to...
Let's go overhead, because I'm actually going to show off. I want my grid point to be right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sneak the probe bit down into these T-channels and come to the back and contact the leg on the back surface.
Because you press that up against that clamping face. It's all in the same plane.
Yeah. So we'll go 1, 2, and 3.
Great. Let's do it.
Start off with a scan. And grid. Hover over, ease your way down, make sure that you're actually getting in that channel. And don't forget to change your edge. This only works with the 1/4 inch because it actually fits in that T-channel. Probe. Now I have to lift Origin up to scoot it over to this one. Probe. And last but not least, probe.
Perfect.
Okay. So if we were doing this repeatedly.
Now that we've got that grid, because if we were to put our stop on this side, that would be in the way probably when we were going to make that grid. But now that we've got the grid, you could just take a spare piece of stock, put double-side tape on it. I don't know, use an air nail or something. I love the air nailer lately. And just use that. You can see that on the side there. Just use that as a stop. Now you've got one reference there. You've got your other reference is that aluminum face of workstation. And that's going to put your mortises in exactly the same place every time. Let's show dropping the design in for this apron mortise. And then let's do the same thing that we did earlier where we duplicated the workspace and put in the right side blade mortise also, just to show people how to set up those two workspaces again.
Gotcha. All right. So first one is going to be apron mortise right. We have a guide that is the full length of the leg, just so that you can kind of see it.
Helps you get a reality check that your taper is going the right way.
Yeah. I'm going to drop that at 0, 0.
You will notice if you zoom into that the guide is tapered at the very top of the leg. It should be angled in toward the top just a little bit. Can you see that guideline angle in?
Just a little bit, yeah.
When you're done with this project, you are going to need to trim this a little bit just with a block plane, I think, because these angles are kind of by eye and by hand. And it's a compound angle at the end of that corner. It's not just in one direction. So after you get this whole thing assembled, we're not going to worry about that right now.
Yeah. But as you were suggesting, let's go ahead and do a little bit of legwork to...
Hey. Did you do that on purpose?
You know I didn't.
Just comes with the job.
We're going to name this workspace leg right. Open up that workspaces and duplicate. Now that we're in the copied workspace, I'm going to remove and import blade mortise right.
And we're just showing you guys how to place this for repeatability. We are not going to cut the blade mortises in this orientation on this leg. You're going to have two legs that get the apron mortise cut on the right-hand side, and you're going to have two legs that have the blade mortise cut on the right-hand side. For each of those legs, the other mortise gets cut on the other side of workstation so that you can keep that 90-degree side of the part up against that clamping face.
Yeah.
So for this one, we are going to have to rotate it 180 degrees. But when it comes to setup and doing this in a kind of batch process for building this table in your actual shop, this is what you're going to want to do.
Going to use the 6mm by 30?
6 by 30.
6 by 30mm 3-flute cutter.
This isn't that deep of a mortise. We're going to go just a little bit deeper than that 5/8. What are you looking for? A wrench. Just a little bit deeper than our 5/8. We could go 3/4. We don't even need to go that far quite.
Yeah. All right. But the reason we switched to the 6mm is because this mortise is exactly a 1/4 inch tall.
Mm-hmm. So you're giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room there for a small roughing pass. You could even go straight to the finishing pass on this. Nobody's ever going to see a little inconsistency
That's true.
in a mortise. But it gives you a little wiggle room for fitting that cutter in there.
All right, let's swap back to our leg right. And tell Origin that we have a 6mm cutter in there. Bam. All right. I'm going to have to tweak my auto pass roughing pass because you see how I turn on auto pass and my cut path vanishes?
Mm-hmm. What's going on there?
That's because the baked in roughing pass is actually too big to fit into this mortise. So we just need to tweak that. See what 0.01 looks like. Still too big. That's all right. Do 5 thou. There we go.
Very modest roughing pass there.
Yeah.
But if it helps you feel better.
And just double check our depths. We got about a 1/4 inch per pass. I feel good about that.
Mm-hmm. What are we going down to on this one?
Going down to 0.65. So
yeah, so just a little bit more, about a 0.5 millimeter more than that 5/8.
Great. Let's do it.
Let's cut a mortise.
All right.
So AutoPass is going to let Jake cut this whole thing out in one long cut, roughing and finishing pass combined. We're going to do a test fit with the tenon. We always cut tenons first with Origin and then follow up with a mortise. And then we'll see how it fits. Our fit's going to be a little bit different than usual. Your fit depends on your material, your template, how hard you might be pushing the router, and the router bit that you're using. And I know that with the ridges that this roughing bit creates, our tenon might fit a little bit more tightly than normal. Our tenon might be a little more big than normal. So we'll probably have to use a slightly larger negative offset on this mortise to get everything to fit. Remember, a negative offset removes more material.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to need probably
Pretty snug.
about I want to guess. I'm going to say 7 thou.
I was going to guess 8.
8?
What do you say, 7.5? Split the difference.
Well, you're going to finish this one and put it in your house. So whatever you would like.
7.5. Teamwork.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and turn AutoPass off for this because I'm just taking a hair off. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's good.
It was definitely that half.
Feels
Perfect.
good?
Feels great. And it's got some nice ridges for glue, which again, it's the first time we've done this. It's kind of a fun experiment.
Beautiful. So if you were doing this at home, you would have an end stop set up in here. You would take this out. You would do your other apron tenon. This is going to be our front left leg. I think you would do the apron tenon on the back right leg. And then you'll do the drawer blade mortises for the other two legs. But since we're just working with one leg today, I know this is kind of hard to follow along with. We are going to show you guys how to now flip this around, set up this same leg with the mortises on the left side of workstation shelf. And we're going to do kind of the same thing. It's really just going to drive it home, though, how to set this up for repeatability and with the right faces in the right places. Remember, you want one flat 90-degree face up for you to cut your joinery into, and you want the other one back against that flat face of workstation.
Right.
Tape.
Unnecessary but satisfying step of just trimming the tape.
I'd call that necessary. All right, and we got, again, one of those 90-degree faces up and another one of those 90-degree faces against that aluminum clamping face. And now you can really see that taper in action because our workstation shelf is tipped the wrong way now. So we're going to bring that support bar back in and realign everything so it's nice and flush in this other orientation.
Sweet. We got a scan. And grid using that same method of sneaking into the T-track holes.
Mm-hmm. And reminder for everybody, this is your time to ask questions. This is a live show. And, oh, what are you doing, Jake?
I just noticed it.
What's that?
I almost didn't notice it because it's so close, but it thinks my bit is 0.236. But
oh, that's 6 millimeters.
It is 0.25.
Our mortises would have been off by 12 thousandths of an inch. 14 thousandths of an inch, something like that. Subtle but important.
Yes.
This is your time to ask questions. This is a live show. If you're watching this on Thursday and not later on YouTube, we're going to be doing a giveaway. Before we do the giveaway, we're going to be answering some questions. If you've got a question that you would like us to answer, make sure you type that into the chat so Ted can send it to us.
All right, that is set up. Swapping back to the 6 millimeter. And Z-touching off of our material. Cool. Look at that, we can helix these.
That's great.
Let's go ahead and turn on helix. Reminder, folks, that means that the shape, the cutting path fits within the corrective range of origin, so I don't have to move. I just have to plunge, and it's going to helically bore down. We'll keep that 7 thou.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Let's do it.
Helix is great. It's going to make quick work of this. Helix is a feature that's included with every Origin. So no need to get an extension or anything like that, like with AutoPass. Just make sure that the cutting path that you're trying to cut fits entirely within that corrective range. Now, a tip with this is that if you have something that's close but not quite in that corrective range, you can often use a larger bit, which will push that tool path farther inward and will actually make that path fit all inside that corrective range. This is one of the reasons why we love that 16 millimeter bit. because if we're doing a lot of big holes, like 3/4 inch holes in a tabletop for alignment or fixturing or something like that, kind of MFT style, it allows you to helix all of those holes, saves you a lot of time.
Excellent.
Feels good?
Feels great. Yeah.
Great.
Sweet.
That's that. No mallet today.
No mallet today.
That's one leg. 1 out of 4.
Nice.
I think that's the show.
That's the show, folks.
Clean finish.
Definitely go check out this project. It's a lot of fun to make, and it comes out beautifully. Watch Matt's masterclass and learn some of his design techniques on how he chooses. He likes pops of color. He uses a lot of milk paint in his work, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, there is some milk paint in this project too, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The drawer front he paints.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. See you then.